What's up, creeps? Well, Halloween is over, which means it's time to start counting down until the next one. In the meantime, that means I'm back to the normal diet of horror that isn't quite Halloween related, which is fine and all unless that diet has to involve cheesy movies where the cheese has gone bad. We've seen plenty of not so great horror movies where even if it was bad, it was still enjoyable. But bad and boring is honestly the worst offense of any movie, horror or not. And unfortunately, I feel like this YouTube channel is overdue for a movie even I think is just bad. And that movie is Glenn Danzig's Verotika. If you haven't seen it, prepare your ass for this very spoiler-ridden review, where I'm honestly doing you a favor. I'm Mr. Samhain, and this is Corner Room Creep Show. So yeah, Verotika. Where do I begin with Danzig's passion project? If you don't know about Verotika already, or have been lucky enough to have not seen it, Verotika is based on his comic series Verotik, which is all about blood, boobs, and shit that Danzig is into. Verotika is his anthology from it, and influenced by his love of Argento, Bava, and Fellini, which he is none of those people. So Danzig wears the hat of executive producer, writer, and director here, and somehow had producers who couldn't hone this into something actually watchable because, as far as I can tell, this is primarily self-financed by Danzig. My biggest beef, before I even talk about what's in the movie, is the hype that preceded it getting out to the masses. If there's one thing I try to steer clear of, it's anything marked in comparison to another movie, especially a classic. We've all seen that scariest movie since The Exorcist run on movie ads. And what usually happens is the movie isn't, regardless of how you feel about The Exorcist. So immediately, any comparison to such should be met with skepticism. In comes Verotika and the internet people and AV clubs of the web comparing it to The Room, the Tommy Wiseau so bad it's good classic that is a so bad it's good classic. Normally, I'd give pause to that comparison, but knowing who Danzig is and by all accounts how seriously he takes himself, I could envision a so bad it's good movie directed by him that's a horror anthology, and I was immediately sold on Verotika. I believed the hype because it made sense to me. What we ultimately got, though, is a very boring 3-story anthology involving a neck-snapping spider guy, a face-stealing stripper, and a Countess Bathory ripoff, all with an in-between hostess Morella, played by porn star Caden Cross. Actually, porn stars make up a good portion of the cast just in general. These ingredients would still say this should be fun to watch, but I was wrong. The first story involves a French model, Dejette, played by porn star Rachel Ritchie, who has eyeballs for nipples, and the guy who finds out doesn't react enough to this before just walking out. As she cries from her nipples, a teardrop gets on a white spider, and all of a sudden a giant spider guy is in the room with only 2 arms that move, and he professes his love for her and to do what she pleases. So he starts by murdering her roommate for no reason. He says he murdered her because she would not, because he would do what she would only think about. Danzig says their relationship is supposed to be like Beauty and the Beast. Okay. Spider Guy then goes strolling for hookers who are into anal and have bad French accents. Actually, everyone in this has terrible French accents. Soon after, the body is discovered and the one victim killer is given the name Le Neck Breaker. Somewhere, there's a killer who's done yeoman's work and still hasn't been recognized for it by the press by getting a nickname, and that's sad. Anyway, while Spider Guy ass bangs some hooker back at the house, Dejette wakes up from a dream in a porn theater as some dudes are starting to try and perv on her, which cockblocks Spider Guy, so I guess there is a he kills while she sleeps thing going on. She goes back to her place and ODs, but calls the cops about the dead roommate first. So the cops show up, shoot Spider Guy, and realize they found Le Neckbreaker. Oh, and then this girl also has eyeballs on her tits. That's weird. The end. This story is by far the most intriguing and also head-scratching. Unfortunately, it only gets worse as the runtime goes on. Then the next story is about a stripper mystery girl who skins women of their faces to wear on hers because it's scarred. Why? Who knows? Danzig didn't feel it was necessary to build a backstory to anything here. Just nothing. So, Mystery Girl works in a strip club that isn't very popular, judging by the lack of customers, and her routine consists of mostly just flailing her arms and cloak around. Once again, Danzig defied the odds in this movie by making boobs boring, as the strip club sequences are just filler in between Mystery Girl skinning faces and a cop played by TV vet Sean Kanab, the only experienced actor in this entire cast, who was in like The Karate Kid, and The Outsiders, as well as a host of like TV shows throughout the 80s and 90s. He also has some of the best dialogue in the entire movie. When he goes to find Mystery Girl at the club, he gets blocked by a stripper running interference that tells him, "There's naked girls back there." Well, that's funny. There's naked girls out here too. It's a strip club. Or when he goes into a dark room and yells, "We know you're the face ripper." Anyway, she gets away, but not before the cop shoots her a bunch of times. Then the story just fast forwards 6 months later. And somehow she manages to find another strip club that will employ a cloak-wearing stripper with bullet scars all over her body. Then finally we reach the last and worst story, Verotika, Contessa of Blood. This one is the most inept of all the stories and feels almost like everyone involved had given up because it's so fucking lazy. The accents are once again awful. The acting is bare bones as the Contessa mostly just looks at things and says some lines and bathes in blood regularly. The Contessa needs virgin blood, which she pronounces Virkin. So she and her goons take Virkins from the village and bring them back to her castle for her to bathe in. One of which is Kansas Bowling, who has done stuff for Trauma, and in Verotika had the role of a lifetime as a tied-up woman that the Contessa takes a bath in her blood with. No lines, no movement. She just hangs out in the tub, eyes closed, as the Contessa bathes and licks her arms. Then she stares at herself in the mirror and poses a bunch. Then we find out that the villagers are whispering about what's happening in the castle, which is never brought up or explored again. Then she goes and bathes again, but this time in porn star Emma Hicks's blood. There's a scene where she talks to a wolf that never goes anywhere. Then she eats a Virkin heart, and that doesn't mean anything. And then she has a village Virkin beheaded and takes it to a room full of mounted Virkin heads, sits on her throne in her cheap fucking castle. The end. That's it. 3 stories where there's no story. A spider guy appears from boob tears, snaps some necks. The girl cries a bunch. The cops arrive and kill it. The end. A stripper rips faces off of women to cover her scarred, no backstory face. A cop finds a strip club card at the scene and comes for her. She gets away. The end. A countess that likes to bathe in Birkin blood and looks at herself in the mirror. The end. This movie was maddening because it's so bad, and somehow people tried to build this as a horror version of The Room. Wrong, 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 wrong. The Room is a lightning in a bottle movie where everything bad and not good crash together in perfect unison to create a hilariously bad movie. Verotika is what happens when someone who doesn't know how to make movies tries to make one, and nobody seemed to be on the team to try and help him shape it into something. For fuck's sake, Danzig took a bunch of naked porn stars and blood and still managed to make a boring fucking movie. So we ultimately end up having 24 boobs, 2 with eyes, 10 dead bodies, 1 neck-snapping spider guy, 1 face-cutting stripper, 1 Countess Bathory ripoff, 3 boring strip club scenes, terrible accents, eye gouging, neck snapping, face removal, stripper shooting, torso slicing, heart removal, heart eating while still beating, 2 neck bloodbaths, Birkin bloodbath, and excessive posing in front of a mirror. I give Verotika a half star simply for having nudity, but unfortunately missing everything else that would have made this entertaining and not a big, long, boring watch. Normally, if I don't like a movie the first time, I usually like it better the second time. Not with Verotika. I think I laughed one time in the movie and only found the first story to come anywhere close to that so bad it's good quality. But overall, Verotika just stinks. So, get excited for his soon-to-be completed vampire spaghetti western. And if you like The Room, Troll 2, Neil Breen movies, or even other B-junk, then stay away from Verotika because this ain't any of those. Somehow he managed to take the best of all his influences from Argento, Bava, and Fellini and really get like none of it on film. I mean, he tried some Argento lighting and even that kind of failed. So anyway, I'm Mr. Samhain from Corner Room Creep Show saying, watch something new for a change. Maybe not Verotika. And I'll see you next time.